My name is Can Aztekin, and I'm a senior in Sabancı University. As I just said, senior year, this is my last year to be part of this magnificent event and this incredible organization group, which is only driven by curious, engaging, and free-spirited students. This is my third year in this organization group, and I am kind of the oldest member. And as it is the case, our team suggested / forced me to do this opening speech for you. Firstly, we want to thank you all, our current and participants, for supporting us by sharing their important time to get their inspiration from here. Secondly, we also definitely thank our sponsors for providing us with necessities of various aspects. We also definitely thank Sabancı University, which is our home, and I also definitely have to thank my current and previous group, because they kept this event dynamic and evolved it every year in different ways. Also, particularly, I have to thank one person, Sharon Turner, who is right now here in sitting with you, because she helped me 3 years ago to establish this amazing organization and introduced me many inspirational people. So thank you, Sharon, again. So, sorry, this is kind of me saying an emotional goodbye right now, but this organization has definitely marked my last 3 years with joy, happiness, stress, and as you can expect, it's changed everything for me in different parts. But as you can expect that today we are not here to talk about the changes I was experiencing, but we are here gathered to talk about the changes surrounding us and making our life more wonderful every day. So, our team is, as you know, what is next. And to define what is next as a team, I have written something for you. As we all experience, the world we live in right now is changing in a supreme speed that we hardly process. Our current world is probably the most interconnected, fast-paced living world. It could be debatable whether we are heading in a good direction or a bad direction. But one thing maybe we can all agree on is the world and the humanity never experienced this frequent change. We are now perplexed with what is going to happen next day, and the other day, and the other day. So today, we want to ask you, our speakers, and ourselves, what is next? A simple yet inevitable question we face every day. Today, we are going to try to glance at our future, what is going on in advertising sector, medicine, foundations, political and gender issues, educational development, entertainment world, and also try to understand where are we going to be in this fast-paced new world we are welcoming every day. During our event, we will have 2 30-minute breaks, and we are going to serve coffee for you. And as you might realize, every team member and speaker has a red-colored badge robe. So if you need any help or if you want to ask questions to our speakers, you can always find us. So after our event, we highly recommend you to stay here and share your time with us for TEDxSabanciUniversity after event, where you can meet with our speakers and delve into the subjects that you just learned about. So if you are ready, I would like to invite our first speaker. You might know him from his work as a senior technical director and principal designer in the Academy Award winner animation movies such as Shrek, Finding Nemo, and The Incredibles. He worked in famous animation studios such as Dreamworks and PIXAR. Also, he has been nominated for any award for individual achievements for animated effects by his work on another famous animation, Cars. Currently, he is working as a director of a 3D animated movie, Organicos of Cave Visual Effects Studios, which is also founded by him. Ladies and gentlemen, here is magnificent creative Erdem Taylan to let us glance into the future in entertainment and animation movies.
Teşekkür ederim. Sağ olasın. Okay. So, get my clicker. Start the time. Okay, so I have a lot of things to go through, so let's get to it as time. So what is next? That's the question. I thought about it a lot really, the thing is, like, we don't really think about those kind of stuff that much. But then, once somebody asks that question, it becomes an exercise in thinking and seeing what's happening around you. So what I want to do is basically, I want to show you some images. I just showed you by mistake. So I'm going to tell you a truth that most of my time I felt like I'm a forger. You know, if I do what I'm doing now, which is basically tricking people into believing something that is not there, if I do it in a different profession, I would be in jail. But now, hey, I'm an artist, so I can do whatever I want, right? So to continue with that tradition, I want to ask you guys a vote, please, about these pictures that I'm about to show you, whether they are photographs or computer-generated images. So, okay, is it a photograph? How many of you guys think that this is a photograph? Good. How about this one? Photograph or photograph? Good, about 50%. How about this one? Look closely. Photograph or computer generated? Okay. This lady? Photograph? Good. How about this man with an attitude? Good. Okay, and this one right here. What do you think? Photograph? Okay. So the good thing is we made progress. I mean, I think like the rate was around 50% CG or photograph. And one of the hardest topics, the hardest pictures that I show you, which is the lady on the couch, you had also like 50% rate. But let me show you what this really is. This obviously started its life as a computer-generated model, and then somehow get into this stage. In fact, all the pictures that I show you are all rendered images, all 3D. Even this guy with an attitude, the real model is this. So basically, wow, super, you know, we made progress. Because 20 years ago when I started this job, obviously I cannot easily trick you into this. So there's great development on computer graphics field. So to understand where we're going to end up in the future, I think we need to look at a little bit to the history of our society. So what made the difference for us? This is a very, very important question. So in '82, this is the first film with computer graphics in it, which is Tron, Disney's Tron. So how can we start from this in '82 and end up having this 30 years later? This is Tron Legacy in 2010, again a Disney movie. And what made the difference? Obviously, this thing is, what we are doing is computer graphics. So the trick, the secret is computer, right? The computer makes a lot of difference. So I want to show you this example because I worked on this movie. This is a Turkish-made movie, which is called Arrow. And the T-Rex and almost all the foliage around the T-Rex, trees, etc., is all 3D generated. So this is done in 2008. So I want to give you some results and rendering times of this so that you can understand how fast we are progressing. So what we are doing here is that we model these objects and like model the environment, etc., to take reference photographs. And after that, we start to render this thing. And at that time, it took us 2 hours per frame. Basically, you know that for every movie, for every second, we need to render 25 frames. And we play it so fast that you think that it's all moving. So we render that. It took us 2 hours per frame to render in 2008 on a machine that costs around $4,000. Today, same image can be rendered in about 40 minutes on a machine that costs around $2,000. So accounting everything, we have almost 5 times performance increase in 5 years. That means that CPUs, the main processors in a computer, kind of increasing its performance around 37% every year. So what does that mean? Basically, it means that in 10 years, we will be at least 25 times faster than we are today. And what that means is that the same image can be rendered in about 5 minutes using the same offline method. So you see, like, 37% doesn't sound like a lot, but in 10 years or 20 years, it's a lot of increase. So that's good, right? I mean, like, we have that 37% in the bag every year. Well, that's not really the truth. Because what happens is that, generally, I'm going to tell you the first rule of life. Just when you start to feel comfortable with something, there comes a new thing that challenges you. This is a great thing, because as parents, I'm a parent, so I know this is the real ugly truth, right? You have your first kid, you raise it to a certain age, and then you think that you're done with it, but then the second one comes, and then everything changes, right? So it's the same thing in every field almost. So you have standard resolution TV. Just when you are comfortable with it, then comes the HD TV. Once you're comfortable with HD TV, you have 4K TV, etc., etc. So it's the same thing all over. So yes, we have now maybe 10 times more processing power than, like, let's say 7 years ago. But what we do is, like, this is from Monsters Incorporated, a PIXAR movie. This is done in 2000, 2001. And we were happy with it at the time. It was nice, looking good, no problem. And we have this new processing power. What did we do? Like, did we render it at the same time and go windsurf and spend time on the beach? No. We go from this to this. Much more complexity, much better graphics, much better looking image. So that's the Monsters University that is released in 2013. So basically, that's generally what happens. Yes, computers are increasing in speed and etc., but we don't like to stay where we are. We put that into action, right? Like, computers start crunching even more numbers now. So you can basically start from this. This is from the original Toy Story, a PIXAR film in '95. And this is the same character in Toy Story 3. You see, there's a subtle difference, but when you look at it physically, there's a huge difference between these two images. So complexity is maybe, I don't know, around like 20-25% more, 20-25 times more than the original film in about like 15 years. So it's a lot of new geometry. So you can see the difference here very, very nicely. This is how people were rendering this kind of images in '95, around in '90s. And this is what we are doing right now, a couple of years ago. So you see, like, before, fur is a no. You could not do that, because fur, like, a million objects in a small area. So, and we can do fur, etc., and shadows, and general simulation of lighting is much more physical, as you see. Shadows are looking good. Everything kind of like this little bear has an impact on the ground as well, like, because there's a little bit red of that bear reflecting on the ground, which is called global illumination. So now these are all possible. So as you see, yes, we have more tools and more speed, but we end up using that even more complex images. What that gives us is the ability. For example, yes, I was working at PIXAR. PIXAR has, like, I don't know, 4,000 computers in their render farm. But as a small studio at Cave, we were able to render very good-looking images as well. So with a lot of complexity, grass, everything, fur, whatever, we can do everything. This is from Organicos, a product that we are developing. And we can put a lot of detail and complexity into the image that we are doing. So again, computers gives us the ability, basically, because of the increase in the speed, even with a small studio, we can do great looking images. There is also another thing that was happening at the time. So you have the CPU on the computer, but there's also another thing which is aiding the computer to do graphical processing, which is graphical processing units. These GPUs were first used for games, obviously. That was the case. But in 2008, average graphics memory was around 512 megabytes. Today, 5 years later, the average becomes around 2 gigabytes. In fact, the norm is around 3 gigabytes now. Why is that important? It's important because the average, for example, this image requires about like 8 gigabytes of memory to render. So if you don't have that kind of memory in your graphics card, you cannot render it in the graphics card. You should render it with a CPU. Graphics card can do only one thing, but it can do it very fast, like maybe 100 times or 10 to 100 times faster than a regular CPU. But unfortunately, back in 2008, we cannot fit all that data into the graphics memory of the card. One other very important thing is that yearly performance increase of GPUs is faster than the CPUs. Compared to 35 to 37% increase per year, GPUs are getting faster every year by 50%. So in 10 years, GPUs will be 60 times faster instead of 25 we have with the CPUs. What that means is that, and their memory is also increasing. Currently, we have 6 gigabyte, 12 gigabyte memory GPU cards. That means that our beloved T-Rex in Arrow can be rendered in real time at 60 frames per second, which is a great thing to have, right? As artists, we are not limited by the computer anymore. We have the object, we turn it, we animate it in real time, see the result immediately. I mean, one belief that I have is always the fact that the more iteration you can do on a thing that you do, the better the result will be. So that gives us that ability, like you don't have to wait for it anymore. It's there, you move one thing, the result is immediate. Obviously, for us, it means an important milestone, but for industrial design, architectural rendering, product design, anything design related, this is a huge thing. Let's say you are designing a car. You can see the car in real time. The car can move in a dynamic way. You can test its engineering principles. Not only that, but also the way it looks. The way it curves and like the way it reacts to the air. You can see all that stuff. So, and you can see that now in real time. So that's the important thing about the GPUs. So because of all that, CPUs and GPUs, we are having almost constant incremental performance increase every year. There's something, this is a great thing to have, right? So for example, I want to show you this image. It's not an image, it's an animation. It's a video from NVIDIA. This is one of their latest videos. This is a real-time rendered human face in real time. It's animated in real time. It's not an offline rendering system. You can modify. As you see, there's a menu. You can choose your actions, etc. Everything is in real time. As you see, we came a long way. I mean, it's very hard to see whether I mean, if you put this in a proper environment, you will be it will be very, very hard to say whether it's real or not. So GPUs are coming. GPUs are one big area of development. But when GPUs can do this, obviously offline rendering doesn't stop where it is. So this is a very recent work by Chris Jones. As you see, it's just released. And it just shows where we are in believability and rendering. So before, we had the possibility of tricking you guys with fantastic images, but it's only a single image. Now, this becomes a dynamic image. So it moves, and I'll show you the result of it. As you see, I mean, it's very, very hard to see. It's like a macro photography. It's fantastic. But obviously, everything is CG here. There's nothing real. If you don't believe me, you'll look at these images. So it starts its life as a cage. Animator has some controls over how the eye blinks, etc., where it tracks, etc. And then, bam, you know, like you have that result. So you see, like, GPUs are gaining power, but CPUs and the rendering techniques on CPUs are also getting much better. So what is really next after seeing all this? Obviously, this is my guesstimates, right? But I think, like, we can say that this will happen. Okay, for objects and products, rendering will be in real time, and will be photorealistic. Basically, once a car designer designs a car, he will show it to you, and you cannot say whether it's a CG image or a real image, because rendering techniques and the quality of the simulation of light that we do past that threshold. So anything design related, anything really. I mean, if you are designing a bus, you are an architect, whatever you do, if it's design related thing, this is going to be a huge thing for all of these industries. So if you think about a career in this, please go and do so. I think it's going to be a great field. One other thing that is very, very interesting in recent years is that 3D printers are coming. So they will be more and more be part of our lives. We will produce our own objects, toys, etc. We will be able to see and test our designs before they go in production. So you have an object in mind, you design it, you put in your 3D printer, you see it. This is a fantastic opportunity. So for our work, HD is already dead, so forget about HD. 4K is already becoming widespread, sorry. Okay. Sorry. And image resolution will go up much faster than before. So from SD to HD, it took us like maybe 15 years. But from 4K to 8K and 16K, it will be much faster. 3D rendering will be much more physical. So you will not be able to say whether it's a CG or not. And in any case, even today, that's the case. And this is an important guess by me. Films and videos will feature 3D elements inserted in them in real time. So I coined this term, it's a 3D graph. It's not a photograph, but it's a 3D graph. So with your camera, most probably in a couple of years or so, when you take a picture, you will take not only that moment, the light of that moment, but also the depth and the 3D construction of that scene as well. So you will be able to turn your vantage point and adjust depth of field, etc., on that image. I think that's very, very close. So you will be able to do that. Then once you do that, that means that you can insert other objects, new things in there. So will that change how we design and work? Well, yes and no. For character design, we will still draw on paper, etc. So this is natural to us. So that will not change. But from this drawings, getting to this image, a simple character, it will be much faster and much more realistic, obviously. So we will still draw these kind of images to have a sense of this is a scene from Organicos again. And then we will draw this, but to go to this, it took us maybe a month to do this. I would say that in a couple years, it should take us a week maybe. So it will be much faster. And with 3D printing, obviously, this kind of stuff is always possible. You have an idea, you put it on the 3D printer, print it. You see, you can do stuff like this. And this is and you can show people what you are thinking of. So yes, future will indeed be better, as John said. So John was in his opening speech saying whether it's good or bad, we will know about the future. But I think for computer graphics, it will be indeed be better. I cannot talk about the other stuff, but at least for 3D production and computer graphics, it's a bright future. Thank you.